Welcome to Relay Radio. I'm your host, Derek Dreyer. To my right is my co-host, Daniel Hong. We'll be lighting the torch of knowledge to bring you exhilarating insights, expert tips, and inspiring stories.
Immerse yourself in the world of business, entrepreneurship, and life as we pass the baton of knowledge, empowering you to sprint towards greatness. Today's guest comes to us all the way from the Bay Area. He paved his way into entrepreneurship by opening an auto detail spa, and after that, he never looked back. Operations specialist in logistics, coffee enthusiast, professional DJ, Amazon FBA guru, he is Alex Eugenio. Is that how you say it? Alex?
Yeah, it is.
Nice,
Yeah, it is.
nice.
Yeah.
Alex Eugenio.
What's up, guys? How are you guys doing?
What's up? All right,
man.
we're glad to have you. So let me explain the structure of our podcast just really quick. So it's structured like a relay race. If you've ever ran a relay, familiar with the relay?
Runner?
Not,
Different
but I
legs.
guess I can learn. We'll
So
figure it out.
We're going to go through a warm-up, 4 different legs. First leg, personal. Second leg, we're going to talk about social media. Third leg, we'll talk about business. Fourth leg, we'll talk about some insights or tips, retrospective advice. And then we'll cross the finish line.
Yep.
So starting out, we're going to give you 30 seconds for a warm-up.
I can
It's
time
going to
it.
be a little trivia questions for you.
All right. A little nervous, but all right.
You nervous?
do it.
Yeah, it's fine. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right. Who is on the $2 bill?
Skip.
I have no idea.
What month has 28 days?
I have no idea.
What year was Amazon founded?
19 something.
How many pounds are in a ton?
How many pounds are in a ton?
Mm-hmm.
Also have no idea.
What country is the largest producer of coffee?
Ethiopia.
All right, your 30 seconds is up. I honestly don't know if you got that last one, but you didn't get any of those. So Amazon was founded in 94.
Okay. I knew it was like 1990.
Come on, I figured you would know that, man. You're the FBA guru.
Every month is
Every
28
month
days.
has 28 days. Yeah.
Every month has 28 days?
Yeah, not 28 days only.
Yeah. Trick question.
Oh, I got it. That's a good one.
I don't know who's on the $2 bill. I didn't see the question. Jefferson. Okay. All right. All right.
Jefferson.
And then what was the last
I
one?
was going to say,
Was it Ethiopia?
Brazil.
Oh, Brazil.
Yeah.
is it really Brazil?
Yeah.
Our question's too hard because like I think people have only gotten one.
I don't know.
We do a leaderboard, and literally I think nobody's gotten more than one correct.
I think. Wait, Leo got 2. No.
No, he thought he got the mauve one, but it was.
Oh yeah. He said red. Yeah.
All right. Let's jump into the first leg here. So this is first leg is personal. So we want to get to know you on like a personal level. Daniel and I, we've only met you once, right? So we don't really know. I mean, same as you, right? You don't really know us on a deeper level, but you just talk to us. Who is Alex? Like, who do you identify as?
Normal guy.
Don't say
Who has
non-binary though. Don't say non-binary.
Jesus.
Normal guy that just has a mission,
Mission?
Yeah, 100%. For me, I never really knew I was an entrepreneur when I was really young. I just kind of had like spurts of like doing entrepreneurial things, but I didn't really realize it until later in my journey. I would say one of my most, memorable moments of being an entrepreneur was probably when I was like 14 years old, when I was in high school. My grandma at the time worked for a logistics company, and she had a warehouse similar to the size of the company. And essentially what happened was that a bunch of trucks went to deliver at Safeway some apple cider bottles. But in transportation, something happened and all the bottles fell over and broke. So essentially what they did was they brought all the bottles back, maybe 2 trailer loads. When they brought the bottles back, the company, I believe it's Martinello's apple cider, they didn't want the bottles anymore. They're just like, toss it. So my dad knew I really loved that apple cider. So what he did was he took me to the actual warehouse facility, and he gave me a pair of gloves, and he said, here, you can take as many as you want. So the first day I probably took like maybe 10 bottles. I drank 10 bottles. I had the worst stomach ache of my life.
The mango one's really good, by the way.
I haven't tried that. Yeah, I haven't tried.
It's good. It's good.
So then what happened was I asked my dad, hey, can we go back? I want to get some more. What ended up happening is I end up bringing my dad's van at that time. I end up picking as many bottles as possible. And we had a 3-car garage at that time. So I pretty much filled up like 2.5-car garages of just apple cider bottles. Now, obviously, they were sticky. They had some glass on it. I cleaned every single bottle. And then I started to ask teachers at school during high school. I said, hey, I got these apple cider bottles. You got New Year's coming up. Like, would you want some? And I remember the selling price at Safeway was like $5 something. I think $5.99 or something like that. I was selling it to my teachers for $3 a bottle.
Holy shit!
The apple cider hustle.
But that's
Yeah,
all.
apple
That's all
cider hustle.
profit because it was free.
100%.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that was probably one of the first entrepreneurial moments that I had.
So were your parents entrepreneurs at all, or
They were not. Actually, none of my family are entrepreneurs. Like, I really had to step out of that realm of not, of being an entrepreneur, or step into the realm of being an entrepreneur on my own. And it wasn't until later down the line where I actually met an uncle of mine's who I knew from a long time ago. I just haven't talked to, who actually is an entrepreneur and who actually had a thriving business. And I met him, I want to say closer to I re-met him, I guess you could say, closer to 2014, 2015, something like that. And, we just kept in contact, and I end up working for him because of the fact that I was still building my automotive detail shop. I didn't want to pull money from the business to stunt the growth of it. So I end up just working part-time with him in order to pay for my own personal bills to actually
How old are you at this point?
Today I'm 31.
No. Like what you're speaking of right now.
I want to say I got into management at the age of 22. Then I worked there. So probably about 25.
Okay, so how about the apple cider stuff? Like, how old were you?
Oh, dude, I was
said
like
it was
14.
Yeah, he said he was 14.
Yeah, I was 14.
Damn, you're ahead. That was
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Well,
you had
my,
a jump start a little bit.
I guess you could say my first, unofficial business would be my dad and I used to be DJs for like parties and stuff like that when I was at the age of like 16. So that's when I started learning that. And what I really started to learn in that aspect was just the normal like organization, keeping track of everything, meeting with customers, introducing yourself. I think the most nervous for me was like meeting the bride and groom of like a wedding. Be like, hey, I'm Alex, I'm your DJ. Where can I set up?
Yeah.
But that's where I kind of learned like customer interaction,
Right.
which was very valuable at the time. And then when I turned 21, I had the idea of starting a mobile detail business. When I got into mobile detailing, how I got into mobile detailing is I spent like a year trying to buy my dream car, which was a BMW M3. And when I got the BMW M3, I was like, wow, it's dirty. I need to clean it. Let me try to wax it. So what I ended up doing is I end up washing it, clay barring it, waxing the vehicle. Then I really loved how it looked. And I end up doing like friends' vehicles who had similar BMWs. So then that's when I realized like, wow, you can actually make some money out of doing this. And that bright idea came from like, okay, how can I properly fund this? So I bought my dream car. 6 months later, I sold my dream car to fund my mobile detailing business.
Nice.
I started my mobile detailing business. 8 months later, I decided I can get into a shop. This is very lucrative. So I ended up opening an auto shop. And then from that time of my auto shop, then that's when I just started to really build it. Obviously, we had a lot of like growing pains. We had a lot of trials and errors. But I was able to build that company from nothing to like a mid 6-figure company.
Nice.
And at the time, that's when I realized I was like, okay, I definitely not necessarily topped out in the sense, but topped out in the knowledge that I knew in this game. And I really capitalized on what's very popular nowadays, which is ceramic coating. During my time, that it just started coming out. So that was like a booming market. It still is a booming market, but I capitalized on it as it was new. And I would do so many hours just working at the detail shop. and mind you, I was working simultaneously with my uncle. So I would be pushing like 22 hours a day for like 3 years. Some days I just wouldn't sleep for like 2 days. I would rely on coffee to like make things happen for me, like it was magic or something. I realized that I didn't want to consistently have to be somewhere at any time. Like it bothered me. So my next step was like, okay, let's move on from the shop. So I end up moving on, closing the shop. I kept all of my equipment because I knew that I had clients that I've already established relationships with that I can always leverage later down the line to gain additional cash flow. Okay. When I left my detail shop, I decided to go full on working for my uncle because there was something about my uncle that I understood, that I found that I had a lot to learn from him. A little backstory of my uncle. He worked for one of the biggest investment firms, or was a partner in one of the biggest investment firms in Silicon Valley, bought and sold over 30 homes by the age of 30. And then he ended up buying the trucking company, I believe, when he was like 31. And when I started with him, the company revenue was making a collective of $3 million yearly, annual revenue. And my goal for that company was, okay, we can grow it to a team of 100 people. And obviously I want to do it a lot more revenue. So by the time I left, we were over 100 employees, and we had grew the company from $3 million annually to about $1.8 million monthly.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
That's
awesome.
huge growth.
Yeah.
Huge growth. Yeah. Wow. And that was the course of like, I want to say 4 years.
That's like a 6x growth.
Yeah, it's
5-6x
pretty, it's
growth.
pretty large.
Wow.
And that during that time is really, I would say it was like my proving grounds. Now, the reason why I say that is because, again, working relentless hours, and when you work with family, there is some benefits, but there is also disadvantages, right?
A lot of cons. Yeah.
There'd be times where I was extremely sick, like I had a flu, I had a fever. The response I would get when I, tell my uncle, hey, I can't make it in, he would tell me, I bought you a gallon of water and I bought you some Advil. It's sitting on your desk.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck. All right, I'll be there.
You don't get sick days as an entrepreneur, man.
100%. So in a sense like that.
No, you don't get sick days with your family.
You don't get sick days at all.
That is true. So just doing that obviously like built up like this mental toughness in myself where it's
resilience.
Like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, because even like when I'm sick now, I just still continue.
Yeah.
Moving forward, my uncle offered me profit shares for the company, and I knew it was already growing. But I had that same realization, was like, I don't want to be at a place at a certain time, like, and obligated to be here. Like, it just bothered me. I already topped out like max pay. I established a really phenomenal team. Like, they're all really, really good. I learned as much operations as I possibly can from this company. It was just time for me to move on. And I will say that, like, it's, now after being so long stepping away from like that, I guess you can quote unquote 9-to-5 job, I did realize that like a part of my uncle was trying to force me out the door because he knew I had so much more potential than just to manage his company.
Yeah. So is he still? So he essentially brought you in to mentor you, took you under his wing in a sense.
100%.
Is he still sort of your mentor to this day?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I'm actually gonna meet with him on Monday. Like with everything, like with real estate, or like even pivotal moments, like how can I do this? What would you do in this aspect? Right.
And I always say like because people get convoluted in what mentor really means today. Mentor, I always say, is someone that you don't know he's your mentor. He just becomes this person that you look up to for advice and things like that. Whereas a lot of people who hire these other individuals for like this one-on-one, they're not your mentor, they're your coach.
Yeah.
And there's such a big difference because mentor is almost like for life. Like I have a mentor too, and he just like unconsciously became my mentor. He's like my big bro. They don't charge you for stuff. They just give you this kind of advice that like is priceless. Because what you're saying, like he kind of groomed you to be resilient, even though it seems like you already had this level of resilience. Because like for me, when my mom bought me my first car at 16, it was like a Mercedes. Like I detailed it every week, and I always had the ambition to own my own shop. I do now, but it took me so long to take that leap forward because I was never taught it. I just knew that I liked doing it.
Yeah.
And I would ask so many of my friends, like, hey, like, should I do a detail shop? Like, should I open one? Because I had a passion for it. It was like almost like
It's therapeutic.
yeah, that's the
Therapeutic.
proper word. I love detailing my interior, the brushes. Like I love doing all of that.
But you don't want to do that for other people.
Yeah. But that
Yeah, it's
that's
different.
It's
So that's
different
why
when
you
you're doing
open
it
your
for
own,
other
that's
people.
why you open your own shop
Yeah.
and then you hire people to do it. But like for me, it was like you definitely had a different kind of mindset than a lot of people. So like talk to us a little bit about your upbringing because your family, you say you were your first entrepreneur essentially, like your parents weren't entrepreneurs. Like how did you develop this like this mindset? Like how was your upbringing?
Yeah, that's great question. So, it's a little bit different, like, my family isn't rich, but they also
You're Filipino.
I am Filipino.
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 What are you saying?
My family isn't rich, but they also weren't poor. Like my family, my family as a whole are pretty well-off individuals, like nurses, doctors, engineers, right? But my immediate family, my parents and my sister's siblings, my dad's an executive manager for the Postal Service. My mom works at the Postal Service,
USPS?
USPS.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, my dad, I feel like I learned a lot of like my managerial skills from him because he was at an executive level that managed pretty much the whole California.
Wow.
Long story short, well, I haven't really talked about this, but long story short, essentially what happened is that during high school, even middle school, like I was a very spoiled kid, like spoiled to more than what people can imagine. My allowance would be roughly about like $250 a week. Every time I wanted a brand new skateboard, I would get a brand new skateboard. Anytime it's new shoes, I would get new shoes. Like that's just how it was. Like that's how I knew life was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
your family was middle class, and you would
Right.
always get what you want. I mean,
Yeah, like
Exactly.
upper middle
That's
class.
awesome.
Did
Yeah.
you-
yeah, so
No hardships at all, or would you say hardships?
I'm getting there.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So, when you're a teenager and you're in high school, like, and you get that type of allowance, like you essentially have a little bit more means than other students that are in high school.
Yeah.
Right. So I just remember like, oh, I want a new skateboard. I was just gonna buy one. Like, or I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, I'll just get one. Recession hit. Our 3-story home went under. We pretty much lost everything, and that was very heartbreaking for me.
Talking about 08, 2008.
Yeah, 2008. It was very heartbreaking for me, and I believe 2009 is when I graduated, and just having to see us move out of my home or our home was very shocking for me. So I feel like that's when that fire really started to burn. Was like I lost all, like I got no more allowance. I didn't get no more money. It was just more like, how the fuck can I get this money back? How can I get this life back that I lost? So that's when it like really started. So that's when I just really started grinding. Like I was just gonna, like I made a decision that I was like, I'm gonna get it back. Like I'm gonna get it back somehow.
So you realize like just going like a career path, so to speak, wasn't for you because like at any given moment,
Yeah.
it could be gone.
Yeah, so that's the difference, in my opinion, too, between like a rich and a poor mindset. A poor mindset is like, oh, I can't afford it. A rich mindset is, how can I afford it? I'm going to find ways to buy it. And that's what you are. It seems like you never, I mean, from what you've described to us, there's never been a period of time where you're like, I can't do this, or I can't buy this, or I can't afford this space. You're always like, okay, let me find ways to get to this point. You realize that like you bought your dream car, and then a month later you're like, let me sell it because I couldn't afford the warehouse with this car, so I'm gonna find a way to
Yep.
get this warehouse. And so yeah, I mean, it speaks level of resilience. I mean, it's also like an ego thing. It doesn't even seem like you have an ego, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I learned to remove it. I really did. I feel like I really had to check my ego during certain times because I always realized that, at the end of the day, like even if I do my best, there's always going to be someone that's better, and I just need to like get to that level. So then like removing my ego has allowed me to like grow to another level.
How'd you get to that? Like, because most people, I mean, I would say most men grow up with an ego, where it's no matter how you say it, there's a certain point in their life where they're like, that person's better than me, or damn, I don't want people to see me going through this. Because it's like, okay, with the recession thing you're talking about, where your family lost everything, how did that take a toll? Like, how did that hit you? Because you say, okay, I can get it back, but like, did you ever have a other side of you where you're like, man, like, people are going to see me and I'm not going to have this anymore? Like, how did you feel?
Actually, like, I never really cared what people thought about me. Like, it was just never, like, I feel like I never really cared that whatever they thought about me, that was their problem. Like, I didn't care.
Right.
You know, I think where my ego really established was like after making Detail Shop successful and just having like cash in the bank, like that's when ego started to pile up, right? Because I really felt like, you know, at a younger age, I was doing a lot of great things and a lot of people that weren't, right? I hit another downfall, which also helped shift my ego, which essentially what happens, like when I closed my detail shop, I didn't thoroughly think it through. Like I was just like, let's just close the detail shop. But I didn't realize that I had established so much bills that supported that helped me you know, that supported me with my income from my detail shop. So when you close that source of income, the amount of bills is still there.
Yeah, your expenses are still
100%. So I had to like it was a very mind-opening moment, so I had to reinvent myself again. And that's when I like made the decision. I was like, no more ego. I just need to grow, do whatever it takes, and just go at it. So
it's a different level of resilience because it's like a lot of people, I would say majority, that I've met, like no matter how they say they didn't care about other people, like what people thought, like there's still that small percentage of them where they always feel like, damn, I don't want people to see me like this. But like your personality, it seems like you really don't give a fuck. So it is amazing. Like how, like where did you draw that from? Was it your mom or your dad? Like how does that go?
That's a great question. I could say that I didn't draw that from my parents. I would say I just learned it over the course of like through time. And also during that time, like I hired Derek Struggle as a mentor. So like just over his conversating with him was very, always very like pleasant.
Yeah.
So it's just like he would always tell me what he's learning and I'm able to learn from it, you know? So I feel like in some way, me learning how to drop my ego, a part of that kind of related down from him, like teaching me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah.
Essentially, you know, your experience with communicating with other people who don't have egos, you just learn, you know, just from those interactions, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too that like just having the ability to be able to not think anything bad about others and just be open to what they're conversating about and just be genuinely kind, right? And I like when I talk with like people in general or new people, like I have zero expectations. Like I don't expect anything from you. So I think that because of that, like I don't know if it makes sense, but I feel like that kind of helps like with the ego thing too.
Yeah, most definitely.
I completely understand. I feel like that's how I think both of us are.
Yeah.
You know, always treating people with kindness, and you know, for one, you never know where that relationship is gonna end up down the road.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because you're saying this Derek Struggle that you hired essentially in the beginning to teach you the principles and everything essentially became like one of your closest friends.
Best friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
So your best friend, and you obviously wearing his shirt today. So it, you know, I think like.
I purposely did that, by the way. I was like, yo, I'm going to do a podcast. I have to wear the Superbike
I fucking
shirt.
love it. No, with anything, I think in life it's so amazing because you cross through so many different relationships and you never know where something can take you. Even like with us, like we bought Derek Struggle's course. We bought his FBA course.
Yeah, I remember you told me that,
in the past, and then, you know, it just, things blossom. And then like going to his event and meeting great people like you, like really blossomed into other things. And it may develop into a business relationship in the future. No one
That was
ever
actually
knows,
like the spark of Daniel and I's like business partner relationship. That was like the first.
Yeah,
That was our first venture that we were gonna take on together. We were gonna sell baby
swaddles.
swaddles.
FBA.
Yeah, we
Cool.
sampled it. Yeah, FBA. Yeah, so we took his course. We wanted to do our own FBA thing. You know, we had been talking for a long time about what we can do.
2018.
Yeah,
2018.
and we started sampling like baby swaddles, and I think there was something else. I don't remember, but
Yeah, I don't remember.
but we were looking. You know, we had Jungle Scout, all the stuff that you could do to kind of see what's moving and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, dude, the baby industry on Amazon.
It is crazy because like we bought that course and then I realized that as we talked to him, he followed me on YouTube prior
cool.
to us buying the course, and then he was like the Alpha Lead thing. He like knew who I was, and it just like blossomed into like a friendship. And then you know, and then going to that, so that changed our life. Honestly, I think we wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for Derek Struggle. Wow. So it is.
Me too.
It is wild.
Shout out to Derek Struggle.
Shout out to our homie Derek. It is wild to see like
just think about how everything is connected, right? Like all these relationships in the long run.
It's fucking crazy. But yeah, so we want to transition into our second leg, which is social media.
Cool.
I think you're our second guest that isn't on social media prevalently in terms of like a social media following, being a social media influencer, but you understand the importance of social media because, to be honest, like your businesses are social media. So talk to us a little bit about like where your thoughts are on social media in terms of like the branding side as well as the personal branding side, or even like the actual business as a whole with social media.
How do you utilize it?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question because like I had a shift in like thinking about social media last year actually. So when I first started FBA, what I really wanted to do is like I wanted to grow my FBA business and then help influence others by help starting, right?
Yeah.
Similar to kind of like what Derek did, right? Like that's what I wanted to do.
That's how we found him.
Yeah, for sure. And because I always wanted to find a way to help other individuals become better, right? Then when I started to get into like the actual FBA business, I realized it was like hard as fuck. So I was like, okay, I need to allocate time to this, right? And then I went to what's called, in my personal opinion, it's one of the biggest Amazon shows known to date, but it's called Prosper Show, and it's held in Las Vegas. So I went there last year, and there was a big shift because when I went to this show, I was expecting to see a lot of the Amazon FBA guys at the show because it's a big conference, right? And I didn't. They weren't there. And I was like, where are all these people that I want to meet? But although I didn't meet them, I met so many other individuals that are absolutely crushing it in numbers when it comes to Amazon FBA. And that's kind of like where I realized that I was like, okay, maybe I really don't need to have like a social media presence. And I also like a lot of like my buddies who are already doing like 7-8 figures on Amazon, they always tell me like, just focus, don't worry about any of the outside noise. And I remember asking one of my buddies, I said, what's the biggest difference between being a 7-figure seller to being an 8-figure, 9-figure seller? And his answer to me was like, focus and remove outside noise and anything that can take away that focus, right? And then I think about like how much time it actually builds to build a social media influence, and how much time it actually takes for, you know, let's say Amazon FBA guys who offer some type of service or who offer some type of course, right? That takes amount of time. And then not only the time, it takes amount of time to properly mentor somebody one-on-one.
Right.
It's very time consuming. So it was like, do I want to be a 7-figure seller? Or do I want to be a 9-figure seller? So I made the decision like, fuck, I want to be a 9-figure seller. Like that's where I want to be. So in order for me to be that, like I just need to not really put too much work into the social media aspect. And I essentially just use it more of like a diary. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, this is what I do. You know, like what I do in the sense of like on a daily basis. And it helps me also keep myself accountable because it's like, oh, I got to take a picture, dues paid, boom. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you in that sense. I've noticed like a repeating track record with people who build a personal brand with FBA, where they start with FBA and they're kind of in this silence, right? They, and they document their journey, whatever. And then they have one good month or 2 good months and they show like, oh, I did $1 million this month. I did 2 million, but no one talks about how much money they spent to get to that point.
Yeah.
And then they use that to build a course.
Oh yeah.
And sell
and
the
they
course.
capitalize on it.
And they capitalize it because I feel like when you, and this is I think me agreeing with you, is most of these people who are 7-figure sellers or who are spending 7 figures for advertisement, they're capped. And the only way for them to remove themselves from that cap is to sell courses.
Yeah.
And I've realized that. Like, I'm just like, because the people who are really fucking doing it, like you're saying, they don't sell courses anymore.
They don't.
They're
not
like-
at all. Like they're just so wired in on their business.
And they're fucking doing crazy numbers.
Yeah, dude.
My mom's friend, Elton, he has a 100,000 square foot warehouse in the Bay Area. And then he has 160 here, and he only does FBM. He does like 150 million a year.
Crazy.
No social media. Like we are, we wanted to go to the warehouse too, but he was telling us like I think he went viral from selling like those picture frames where it doesn't fit within the size of the frame. It's like there's like white borders.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where he went viral.
Oh wow.
And it's all FBM, and he's he was 100 or 200 people in China constantly doing the market research to the next product and stuff like that. And yeah, zero social media. Wild.
I was just gonna chime in and say like this is also what you see in the fitness realm as well.
Yeah,
you see people do bodybuilding shows, they win first place, and then all of a sudden they're opening up for coaching and coaching.
Dude, that's
people. So it's
crazy.
like,
Yeah.
I think that is the effect of social media too, right? Like somebody does well in one realm and they feel like, okay, now I can just create a mastermind and try to help people.
Yeah.
Whereas, I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. A lot of these people are legitimate and can help people, but I think there's also a lot of people who are just trying to, capitalize
Because there
on that
were
moment.
people like Derek Struggle who fucking crushed it, did 8 figures in 1 year, and then genuinely actually wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And then created a course because he had the actual track record. I mean,
He actually built a really
he actually built
a
a
really good
yeah.
course. Yeah.
fucking really good course, but then also in the sense of like most people who build the courses, they're not like trying to actually help people out.
Yeah.
just
I can agree with you on that one.
Yeah, like Derek actually, when we had a question on his course, and it wasn't live, of course, we would just message him, and he would actually answer.
Respond,
I think
yeah.
a lot of these people, they don't do that. Like they just sell a course and completely detach themselves from it. Oh, buy my course. It should have all the answers, but it really doesn't.
Yeah,
It's like a certain framework that it just keeps you in,
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest problem with like courses too in general, is that especially in the Amazon space, it's like Amazon is always like changing, right? So it's like you always have to be consistently updated. Yeah, you can create like a basic framework of like what product research is.
Right.
But like that's gonna get old really, really quick.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And even that, it's like the biggest thing that I hear with like complaints on courses is that like, okay, they give you the framework of like find a product. Now, let's say you find a product, let's say it's in the baby category. The framework is not in the baby category. The framework is in like some home and kitchen product. Now, whatever applies to that baby category is now like voided because like, or whatever applies in that home and kitchen category is voided because it doesn't really apply into that baby category.
Oh, shit.
Now some same fundamentals are slightly the same.
Yeah.
But it's just different, right? Like, I mean, you guys probably experience too, like when you're running ads, like, for example, when it comes to supplement and skincare is the two biggest categories, in my opinion, on Amazon. Now, in a baby category, you're probably paying anywhere from like $1.50 to maybe $2.80 a click, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you get into supplement space, it's a different game. Like you can get clicks that are like $7, $12 a click. Now, how do you apply the same exact method in the baby category into the method of like being in supplements? It doesn't fucking work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like that's always like a gray area when it comes to like launching on FBA. And that's, I think too, like I understood that like early on, and that's one of the big reasons why, like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, like I saw Derek's course and I was like, oh, maybe I should just pay for this course first. But I was like, no, I really need to do the one-on-one mentorship. And in that time, like 10K was a lot of fucking money. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. I think his course at the time when we bought it was like $800.
Got it.
Yeah.
The one-on-one mentorship was like
More affordable.
Yeah. So like with the social media stuff, you don't have your personal branding. You see it as a diary. Mm-hmm. What social media figures in the FBA space or just like e-commerce in general, like do you follow for like these types of advice?
For advice?
Or
Just
do you
like
do you
that
even
you love.
do you even utilize it in that sense?
Like, do you soak in
or is
any
it
of their
just more
content?
like friends?
Yeah.
I mean, I follow like a lot of the friends that I meet.
What do you consume essentially is what we're asking.
Okay. That's great. Great question. So I guess you could say the famous people on social media, I don't really necessarily take their advice. You know what I'm saying?
Who's the famous people?
I don't want to put any names out there. Yeah, I really don't want to put any. I can name like five.
I
Like
personally don't know like famous FBA people, so I don't know.
I don't know.
I would say like over like 30K followers. Like I can name like five, but like and who I've actually like met. But like I just
Daniel
don't.
Holm.
Yeah.
Oh goddamn.
Yeah. I mean the network that I have in like the FBA group, like I really just stick with like them.
Yeah.
Just because they're like they're so advanced in the game that it's just like it's really helpful.
Yeah.
Right?
How is the social network in the FBA space? Is everybody kind of willing to help each other out, or is it cutthroat, like I'm trying to crush you type thing?
Okay, a little bit of both. Like it's different, bro. It's very different than like how we are and like how we meet. Because I can go up to you and be like, "Yo, what's up, bro? Like, how's it going? Like, nice shirt, right?" When I went to Prosper Show, you know, I already somewhat knew how to like network, right? Like a lot of people say like I'm like a networking king, but like when I went to Prosper Show, it was just so different. Like I would go up to somebody and I would go up to somebody and he would like instantly say like, "Hey, how many SKUs you got?" Or like, what category you in? Like, how long you been at FBA? And I'm thinking in my head, it's like, bro, you don't even know my fucking name. Like, you haven't even asked or said hi. Like, you're just asking me questions like an interview.
Buy me dinner first.
Yeah, it's like crazy, right?
Yeah. So that's their way of like, should I even talk to you?
Yeah. I mean,
walk up to Dan and be like, "How big are your biceps?"
So it was just very different, right? But I realized that like in the Amazon world, there's a lot of people that are just transactional. Like, what can I get? Right?
Yeah,
but it's finding like the genuineness of the individuals who actually care and who actually will, you know, help you grow as an individual.
Right.
Those are the people I surround myself with. You know, and that's been like extremely helpful because I was able to find like a very good network of individuals who are like well experienced in the space that always provide like valuable information for me.
This is this exact same, not exact same, but when you compare buying a course that talks about tools for babies, it's directly correlated with how you network with Amazon FBA versus how we network with fitness. It's very much correlated in the sense of like the way you build your network is relatively the same, but how you introduce yourself is very different. Like with fitness, I'll tell you what, it's really
we keep jumping to fitness because that's just our background.
yeah,
realm.
no,
it's like the fitness realm is very toxic in the sense of like it's not how you've built your fitness business versus how many followers do you have. It's the exact same. When someone asks you how many SKUs you have, it's the equivalent of fitness followers saying how many followers you have. Can I extract something from you? So it's like so
transactional.
So yeah,
I think
transactional.
social media as a whole is pretty transactional in that sense. And
No,
you know,
but then what he defined as like there's these certain group of people who, yes, they have high level of following, but they don't give a fuck because they don't give a fuck if you have 10,000 followers either, because it's like if they can build a genuine connection with you, that's what's more important. It's like what we're going through right now. Like we've been in, I would say, the fitness space. We were heavily involved for like 6 years, probably 5 years. And we saw a rise and fall of like so many people, but what has come out of that 5, 6, 7 years of networking is finally coming full circle to us, meaning like, hey, you guys are right. Like it because we don't have the biggest following, but what we were contributing was like truth and transparency, and like also like, you know, we're deep in the game now. We're not telling people, hey, like buy my course. We're still going in the trenches and packing the orders and showing people like, hey, this is glorious for us because we love the journey. So like with your FBA stuff and the social media stuff, it is crazy. Like when you talk about how it's so transactional, but it's true. It's so fucking wild, dude.
It is transactional, but there's also the side of social media that you were speaking of where our people are authentic and open and willing to help and want to help. And I think that's like the side that we all land on. Yeah. And that's why Daniel said like our connections are kind of coming full circle because of that, because we were nice to people, because we were authentic and open, and you know, we weren't just like, hey, how big? Like I said, how big are your bicep? How many followers you have? I can't hang out with you because you don't have more than 10,000 followers. You know, like, which is sad, but some people are really like that, and it's like, what can I get out of this relationship? And if they can't extract anything from you, they don't want to be your friend. Yeah, and that's the kind of I think that's sad because I mean, that's just the type of person I am, but.
Yeah, I can agree with that, man. Like, for me, like networking, I feel like it's the way I see networking is like it comes down to two components, like being a kind individual and having curiosity. Like, if you can be a kind individual and you can be curious about the other individual, like that can lead to a very long, like, good friendship. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't even have to be curious in the business sense. It can just be like, hey, Daniel, like, how are you? Like, how's your family? Like, where are you from? You know what I'm saying? Like, those type of conversations, dude, I love it because it's like, it really shows that like human connection, and there's no like, I'm not like, hey, Daniel, can you just buy my stuff?
Yeah, because we interviewed or we had a podcast with a guy named Leo, and he was telling us like he doesn't hang out with you or he doesn't interact with you if he doesn't feel like he can get something from you, and it doesn't have to be monetary. It could also be like, do you make him feel comfortable? Do you make him feel safe? Or do you make him feel like you have good energy? Yeah, like those types of things. I feel like as you grow older too, you appreciate it more than just, you know, the transactional stuff. But like as we grow older, we realize like not everything has to be business. It's awesome to see, like, for instance, like even if we don't do business together, we see like you're successful, we can always come to you and be like, hey, Alex, like just having a good conversation is sometimes way more valuable than just like doing a business transaction together.
100%.
Well, even at the you know, I can agree with you saying you're networking. Like at the event, you just straight up came up to Daniel and I, introduced yourself, just like asked about us, what we did, and you know, that formed this relationship that we've been able to keep over the past 8 months now. So and it just goes a long way, right? Like we weren't looking to get it, we weren't trying to sell you on our business, you weren't trying to sell us on yourself. It's just building a relationship. And now when we think or meet people that are interested in FBA, like, you know, you and Derek are the people we refer people to. So I just think it's really cool that, you know, it's come to that.
Yeah, and going to that event, because Derek was so involved with FBA, I thought everybody there was FBA, so I felt like this level of aura where it was like, oh, this guy's not FBA, like we don't want to fucking talk to him, you know what I mean? So it was like, it's cool, you know, just to like slowly being able to like extract people from whom we've met at that event, like Daniel Avila, we talked to him too. And it's just, it's awesome to see like what people are doing, whereas like we don't really care if we do business together. Sometimes like just having that person that you know is also pretty dope.
Yeah, we didn't go to that event with the intention of like selling ourselves or
we
just
went to go support Derek,
getting a client. Yeah, we went to support Derek, and then 2 just to network, meet people like you, just see what other people are doing. And I think it's just like a collaborative, like, oh, this is what you're doing. How can I help you? Maybe down the road.
Form inspiration for me too, you know.
And same for other people. You know, they're like, oh, how can I help you down the road? Oh, I have somebody who may need fulfillment, and you know, that's just, you know, part of the networking, which is it was really cool. It was a good event.
Yeah, that event was really good. That event was really good. Super.
Derek, have another one, please.
We're talking about it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
legit.
we can jump into the third leg, which we've kind of been focused on, which is business. We want to break down like all of the businesses that you've kind of been involved in.
Okay.
So aside from, I would say unofficially, the first business of yours was the apple cider flipping business, but the next business was the detailing, right?
DJ.
Okay, the DJ. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about that. Like, how did you go out and network? Like, what did you build it to, and why are you not doing it anymore?
Yeah, I mean that was like more like you know, I have family who are DJs, and I'm not sure if you know them. Miles Medina is one who is actually really starting to be very popular now. DJ Shortcut, who is like a scratch DJ, he's very popular. And I have like other relatives that are like very popular, but
DJ Khaled.
dude, I wish. No,
There's so many DJs now. I don't.
I thought he was gonna be like,
but yeah,
like
it somewhat
Marshmallow.
grew up in the family. So essentially, like my dad really wanted to like kind of do it as a hobby. So that's kind of like where I kind of like, oh, this is really cool. Like this is fun, and me being young, I was like, oh, I just want to party. So it was a way of like partying.
Oh yeah, it's like two birds in one stone.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, like that's kind of like how I got into it. We didn't grow it like substantially, but it was more of like me just learning like different skill sets. I think I think 100% my dad was just trying to teach me like discipline and teach me like work ethic, right? When you're at a younger age. So that's kind of like how that realm started. But yeah, that there wasn't too much. I just learned a lot of like basic stuff in like doing a DJ business.
Do you still DJ to this day, or is it
sometimes
more,
here and there for
more
fun.
like,
He
like a hobby, like a hobby type thing?
Shit.
Yeah, hobby.
Walk up to a party and be like, "Hey, you suck." I
So do you
wasn't.
just mix, or do you actually like make your own beats or anything like that?
No, just mix.
Yeah.
Just mix. Yeah, but I don't. The reason why I haven't done it too much anymore is because like I like really stopped listening to like rap music and I just like transitioned everything to like EDM.
Yeah, EDM is good.
Yeah.
Well, would you also consider that part of your focus, right? Like you want to focus 100% all of your attention on your FBA stuff.
Yeah, I feel like rap music had a lot of influence on me. So I was like, I gotta switch it up a little bit, and that's why I kind of stuck with EDM. And for some reason, man, like when I go to like music festivals like EDC, like there's a spark of like inspiration there, because like people view it. I don't think anybody at EDC will view it the way I view it, but there is
Everyone's on Molly. That's why.
I
love you.
On the outside looking in, it looks like a big Molly. Everybody's high and just having a good time.
Okay, so when I'm at EDC, I'm always amazed because it's like you're at an event with like 600,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Multiple stages, multiple DJs, multiple vendor booths. How do you even operationally run this?
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
It's crazy. Then you have a marketing team. Then you have a medical team behind the scenes. Then you have a police like staff.
Yeah.
Like, to me, operationally, I'm just mind blown. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is
Like
crazy.
they're probably, I mean, not probably, but they're already planning it right now. They're already
yeah.
like organizing everything, and like it takes a year just to even get that to that point. Most people, like you say, they just see like tickets are $500. Oh man, my favorite DJs are going. But then like someone like us,
Yeah.
from the outside looking in, we see it from the business perspective.
Right, the operations.
His wife has an event planning business, and she does really well too. So like we're able to now, from an entrepreneur standpoint, we look out from it and we see like, damn, like how many people does it take to build this shit? It's fucking wild.
crazy.
Anytime we go to an event, she's always like,
Yeah.
"Oh, how do they do this?" Or
Yeah.
"Oh, they're doing this." Or she's like critiquing it. She's like, they're not doing this good enough." Like I'm sure you probably think the same, and I think
Yeah.
we think the same when you go to stuff like that. You're looking at it from the business perspective of oh, like I would have done this, or they could do this better, or oh, their customer service was ass. So, and it's just I think that's just like that operations inside of us, right?
Yeah.
You're like, man, these guys can really
Yeah.
do so much better in this sense, or they're fucking crushing it.
Yeah.
Because like both of us, I mean all of us actually are in the service and product industry.
Yep.
Where we provide a service but also provide almost like our service is a product.
Yeah.
So the level of like service is so important. Like he was saying, when we go to these events and the customer service is horrible, like we're always critiquing like how the fuck
Yeah.
do people still buy this shit when they're like acting like that, But it is wild, like the level of customer service. It's even now, like now that I'm an owner of like a 3PL, I look at it when I order a product. and it doesn't arrive until 2 weeks, dude, the brands that we've been involved in e-commerce fitness space, if someone doesn't get in 3 fucking days, they lose their mind. So like
Well, that's the Amazon Prime effect, right? People
Yeah.
It's
expect their
wild.
stuff
But
fast.
then, like,
Expectation.
but then with some brands like Nike or something like that, they're getting a pair of shoes and they don't get it until like 2 weeks later. They don't give a fuck. Or like with Instagram, there is no customer service. You locked out of your account, you're kind of fucked. You're like scrambling to get it back. So it is cool to just look at like every
Operational aspect.
every operational aspect of everything, to be honest. So
Also, kind of going off what you said, there's this, it's like a quote or something I saw online where, it's like if Walmart or Amazon or these huge business, if they fuck up your order, you're going to still support them. But if like a small business, a small e-commerce
that's
business fucks up your order, you're not going to go back to them, right? Or like if McDonald's fucks up your order, you'll still go back to McDonald's. But if like some mom and pop restaurant fucks up your order, you're probably like, nah, this place was at. Like,
yeah,
it
that's
sucks,
true.
and I'm
crazy.
not.
That's crazy.
that's
Which is
so-
it's really weird to me because like I think for us we see it as business owners like the importance of like small businesses and like supporting these people and like understanding that small businesses are growing and going through these growing pains and we see it from that side. But if you do think about it, like it's true.
Yeah,
And
that's so
it's
true.
Crazy.
When you go
it's
to
crazy.
when you go to McDonald's, you have the expectation that they're gonna fuck up your order. So yeah, no,
But you're still gonna go back. But
yeah, it's wild. Yeah,
it's sad, and I think that's just the consumer mindset, and it's probably it's frustrating in that sense.
yeah.
It is, yeah.
So okay, so your first official business was the DJ, and then you strived and you built this
Auto detail shop.
auto detail shop that did multiple six figures. Like, talk to us a little bit about that, like the operations perspective. Like, how did you get clients? How big was your team? Warehouse? Like, how was that?
Okay, so when I first opened up a detail shop, my detail shop was like 1,200 square foot. It wasn't that big, right?
Good enough to fit like 2 cars, essentially.
Yeah, one, two, three,
3. Wow, 3 cars.
three, and then I bought a rack, so it was 4.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. So we fit 4 cars in there, but we had like 5 parking spaces in front. And I felt like I was like the only tenant there. Like nobody else was. It was like, I think they had like some construction thing on the right side and some other thing on the other side, medical thing. So it was just me and then like with all the cars, right? So that company I learned so much from, and after like doing mobile details like during my days off, like on the weekends or like even the morning time before I had to go to my evening shift, I just knew that like, wow, this is like really lucrative. Like I can move into a shop. And at the time, the cost of like auto shops were like super cheap.
Yeah.
It was like really cheap. I was like, okay, I could definitely do this.
So it's what, 2012, 13?
Yeah, 2000.
It's like when you're 21, 22?
Yeah, when I was 22.
Okay, so you're 31 now, so 9 years
Sorry,
ago.
21. Yeah.
Okay, 21. Okay. So like 10
21.
years ago.
Yeah.
21.
21.
Yeah, so it was like super cheap. And then I think the first year was very difficult because I didn't really know how to like run a business. It was just like I just knew how to detail cars, right? And I had no clientele. And actually, the first year that I opened my business, it was like a record-breaking like year in California where it was just like rainy the whole year. It like sucked. I was like, this sucks.
Every other day it's raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was okay at that time. I mean, it sucked, but it was okay because, as I mentioned before, like I was working part time with my uncle's company, so I was able to support myself, pay for the shop, whatever.
Nice.
Now, going into year 2, that's when I kind of like started to like really evolve and get into like like ceramic coating. Like that's when it really started coming out. I started offering it, but I really didn't know how to sell very well. Like I just had a contact of people. I was in the car industry. I would go to car meets. Like, hey, like I got the shop. I would have it on my car, and that's kind of like how I started working with like car clubs and everything. Sorry. So that's kind of like how I started getting my first set of clients. And essentially, like from there, like I realized that like when you're in like the car building community, like customized cars, they're not thinking about paying like $1,000 for a detail. They're thinking about buying $1,000 wheels, set of wheels, right?
Yeah,
So like
for sure.
that type of business was like, yes, it was like lucrative. They all wanted to get their cars done. they all wanted to get their cars done so that they could have it nice for the car show, which is perfectly fine, and that brought business. But essentially, I knew that like I would need to move into like regular consumer cars. Okay. So, sorry, I forgot an important piece of the part. Okay. In after year 2 in doing the car shows, there's a company that did really big BMW festivals. Okay. Like massive. Okay. All across the United States, Texas
Was it Beamer Fest?
is bigger than Beamer Fest.
Damn. Wow. Really?
Yeah, it was bigger than Beamer Fest.
I know nothing about cars, so.
Yeah. So, anyways, I had the pleasure to run the whole BMW chapter in Northern California. Okay.
Wow. Cool.
So I believe on the 3rd year of business, that's when I did like a full like relaunch. I changed my name from Prestige Details to AE Auto Spa, and then what we did for my grand opening is we did 4 different caravans that are from 4 different parts of like NorCal, and they all met at my shop as a grand opening. Dude, that was one of the like most fun experiences because they all from different parts of like, I'm not sure if you know like NorCal or anything, but like different parts of the Bay, they all met like towards San Francisco, and they drove 450 plus cars across the Bay Bridge.
Wow.
To my shop.
That's sick.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I had like, we took up the whole parking, like the whole industrial area. We took up the street parking. The city came down, and the what is it called? The head policeman,
Fire marshal.
The chief
chief came down and was like, your car show is bigger than our city car show. I was like so much laughing, and it was so hot that day. And I told my landlord at the time, I was like, I'm gonna have like 50 people over. It ended up being like 450 plus.
That's awesome.
So that was like a good opening too, because like it opened the realm from like doing like regular cars to like people who are in BMWs, but a lot of guys that have BMWs or Mercedes, like they usually have a second car.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, oh yeah, this is my BMW, my show car, but like I have this like Honda Civic or I have this Honda Accord. Like, hey, can you do this? Right. So it opened up the realm of like getting normalized car. And I started to advance more into the ceramic coating game. And I had a mentor at that time whose name, I'm not gonna say his name, but he has one of the biggest detail shops in Orange County. So he was like mentoring me through the whole process and everything.
Nice.
During that time, I started to realize like ceramic coating is the game. Like this is a game changer. I went from doing like $300 details to now charging $3,000 details. It was like a big game changer.
Yeah, because like ceramic coating, I mean, even now is like $800-900, but I'm sure in like
when it was new,
I'm sure it's West Coast is $1,200.
West Coast, no, it's still about $1,200, $1,500.
Wow,
Yeah, it's still
that's
to date.
crazy. Wow.
Yeah, but when it first came out, like I was like one of the only.
Yeah, it's a
shops.
premium. You had the premium product.
100%. So I was charging anywhere from like $1,500 to sometimes $6,000 a detail.
Holy fuck.
Crazy.
So it was like a game changer, right?
So
and I always strive for perfection. Like was like perfect. Like I needed everything perfect. It wasn't. I didn't like. I would take off the wheels. I would clean the inside of the wheels, the back of the wheels. You know, I would clean under the seat.
You were ensuring that the money they were spending was well worth it.
100%.
So with AE Auto Spa, did you have any other employees or contractors?
It was just me at that time.
Wow.
And then I really like topped out at like doing like 3 cars a week because like, you know, when you're spending like, let's say an average of 15-20 hours a vehicle, and mind you, I'm still understanding how ceramic coating works. You know, essentially like I would top out like 3 cars, sometimes 4, right?
Right.
And I say that like also working part-time at my uncle's company, right? Because I'm trying to balance both now.
Damn.
So that's when I realized like, okay, now I have the capital to like hire. So I started to hire. So I started off hiring with like 2 people that like really just helped me like do all like the easy work. Like I'll just clean the interior. I'll do all the hard work.
Yeah.
That was a very pivotal moment where ceramic coating for me. So it was like, okay, now I have the capital to hire. So let me just hire. Okay, now you're getting into year 3, year 4. You know, we had a really good year. It was very sunny that year. We did really good numbers. I decided to expand the shop, like expand it. And there was a guy who always, he was my client, but he was always my customer. So he just always like come back to me because he had like multiple like cars, and show cars. So like he one day came to me and was like, hey man, like let's partner. Like we can really grow this. So like I thinking about it, I was like, that actually sounds really good because I'm in the mentality of like expanding right now. So we end up partnering. Um, Long story short, it didn't go well. Everything kind of like we hired like 7 people. We expanded our shop additional 2,400 square foot. So now we're at 3,600 square foot. We could probably fit over, I don't know, maybe over 20 something cars because including like all of the front parking lot that we had. Partnership didn't go well. He ended up wanting to open up his own shop, do his own thing.
Damn.
He took a lot of my guys, and it was just another downfall.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, should I go after him legally? But in my mind, I'm like, I could take the loss. I'd rather prefer to put my energy into rebuilding myself. So that's what I did. So year 4 to 5, that's when I like really went at it. Like I had so much vengeance inside of me that I just crushed it. Like, and I crushed it in a way that I never knew I could, because when we were at our peak with like 7 people, including us 2, we would be pumping out like more than like 10 something plus cars per week. Right?
Holy shit.
We were pumping out a lot.
Wow.
You know,
And in the detailing game, just so you guys know, 40 cars a month is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a
That is a
fuck
lot,
ton.
yeah.
So usually on average, it's like 20 to 30 cars,
yeah.
which is like a pretty decent amount. But that's really good.
Yeah, so it was a blessing in disguise because he took a lot of the guys who stuck with him, which is fine. So I end up hiring some more guys, or one guy stayed with me, and then I hired 2 more guys. That's when I realized efficiency. So we were pumping same numbers, but now with only 4 of us.
Less people, yeah.
Less people.
So less overhead.
Yeah. So that's like
And this is-
operationally, I started to like really get involved.
So
Like,
now
well, how
you're
can we
back
do
to being 100% owner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's the simplest things. Like I would never think the simplest things. Like, for example, right? Let's say you are wiping the driver's seat of your car, right? Or wiping all the seats in your car. So then what do you do is like you get the bottle and then you spray it on and you wipe it. Then you put the bottle down over there. Then you go to the next thing, right? Instead of like me having to walk back and forth like so far, I would just keep the bottle with me and then I would consistently do all the seats, right? That small thing can save you 4 minutes, right? You don't really think about that. So when you think about like 4 minutes and you think about the conserving of time of like, let's say you're doing like 4 or 5 cars per day, whatever it is, just on the interior, like you're saving so much time. Small efficiency, but like you're, how do I say this? Like,
We'll go back
In
to
the
this
long
quote.
term.
Small tweaks make mountain peaks.
there you go. There it is. That's what
from
I'm kind of
our
like.
previous
Yeah,
podcast.
that's what I'm looking.
Trust me, we think about that when you're fulfilling, thousands of orders at a time, like 1 second per order, that adds up.
Oh yeah,
So,
100%.
like we're definitely in the same mindset of, how do we make the picking process more efficient? How do you reduce steps?
Correct.
Going back and forth. So
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah,
And it's
that's kind of like where I'm getting at. So
those little tweaks can, just like you said, just moving one little thing here that makes all the
biggest
difference.
Yeah, most definitely.
So that's kind of like where I learned efficiency. We end up going through year 5, like really, really crushing it. And that's when I kind of like realized, I was like, okay, I really like doing this. It's a very big passion of mine, but it's not what I want to do forever. Like I just need to move on because I've always had like an interest in e-commerce, but I just never knew where to start. Right. Struggle HQ was like a big changer because then that's when I met Derek and I was like, oh, I could do e-commerce. Like I could do this. So that's when like, I think that end of that year or getting into like middle of year 6, that's when I like closed shop. I was like, all right, it's time to go to e-commerce.
So you closed shop and then went to work for your uncle and then you kind of did e-commerce on the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you closed shop, like 5th year, y'all were doing crazy numbers and you were profiting high. Why did you just decide to close it instead of like try to sell the business?
It had a lot of sentimental value to me.
Okay.
Right. There's a lot of sentimental value. And then because it was like my first like real business. And on top of that, like I wanted to keep the equipment because I knew that like in the game of like entrepreneurship, when you're building, you're always going to need some type of cash flow to fund the next business. So like for the year that after I left, I still like when you go to when you hire a detailer, right? You hire the guy wherever, and if you're really that damn good, they're always going to hire the guy no matter where you are.
Yeah.
They're not going to go back to that detail shop. If I switch to a different detail shop, all my clients are going to follow me, you know? So I decided to like keep all my equipment, and through the first and second year of building like FBA, like essentially like that would be extra cash flow, because then I could be like, oh, you got another car. Okay, let me do it for you. I would be doing it in my garage, and it's like $3,000, and then I got no overhead because it's in my garage.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's one reason why I decided to keep the equipment, and it was sentimental value for me. Like I probably could have sold it for sure, like for a lot, but
So essentially your auto detailing business is really how you learned to become an entrepreneur, own a business, run a business. Then working for your uncle, like you mentioned earlier, was really where you learned more on the operational side and how to scale a business. At what point did you decide, like you said, your uncle was kind of in a way pushing you out, and what was the decision, and what did you do after your uncle is your uncle's was it the trucking company? Yeah.
It's Clock Freight, right? So
no. So Clock Freight was a company that I worked for.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And so what was your uncle's?
So funny story about Clock Freight is that I used to I started off as a data entry person. Like 8 months later, I became like the operations manager. Okay. So,
2013 to 2015.
somewhere around there. Yeah. Long story short, that company ended up firing me. That's when I like decided to like go on with my uncle, and I had that same vengeance. I had a vengeance of like, dude, I'm gonna shut this company down. Like, I went to my uncle. I was like,
Yeah.
it's cool you bought this company. It's good to see you again, but like, I want to shut this company down. Like, I just I was so angry, which we did. Honestly, we did. We shut them down. Like, and
We bought them out. Yeah.
yeah, like so. What were we talking about? So we were.
So what was the after your uncle's? Because you kind of spoke on that earlier. So I was saying, what was your driving factor for kind of leaving your uncle and then doing your own thing, and what was the next venture after that?
When I was working for my uncle, I knew there was a lot of skill sets that it was like missing, right? That I need to acquire somehow, and I knew I could just learn from him, right? Because our relationship was very different. It wasn't like, okay, here, do the work. This is what you do, right? It was like, oh, this is what I'm doing to help grow the company. This is what I'm doing to help build. This is what I'm doing. Now, when I told you that, like, we went from $3 million annually to $1.8 million monthly, this is zero sales. This is all organic. So it's like just to see that and see how he grows things organically.
He has a track record.
Yeah, 100%.
No marketing.
No marketing. Yeah, zero marketing. And we were doing like zero. I was the sales guy. And we did zero sales, trust me.
So with you kind of like running the operations and learning how to scale a business with your uncle and stuff, like you transitioned to FBA.
Yes.
Correct? So that's when you kind of met Derek Struggle. Like what was, if you don't mind sharing, like what was the first product that really got you into this?
It was definitely my first product. It was like the Boba Cup.
Oh, the Boba Cup?
Yeah, it was a Boba tumbler. Like it did really well. Like in because I launched it right before Q4.
Nice.
So it was like it just took off. I was like, oh, this is cool, right? Like I was pretty happy. I was like, wow, like all the effort I put into this one product, like it did really well.
Right.
Right. Obviously that product died down because of the factor of like, when I launched that product, it was like during COVID, people were like into the DIY boba, so like when COVID started, opening up the doors again,
Right.
that's when like the product died down. So I ended up moving on to like different products. But yeah, that's kind of like what really was eye opening, and e-commerce in general was just like very eye opening to me, because it was like, although like I really loved everything I learned at the trucking company, I always was like, fuck, I don't want to be here. I don't want to like be at a place at a certain time,
So with the FBA stuff, and you launched product, you launched a new product, things like that. Like now that you're kind of 4 or 5 years into the game, you'd say, is that, or is it a little bit more?
No, a little bit less.
A little bit. Wow. Okay, so 3-4 years, kind of pushing it. How big is your team right now? Like, what are you scaling to in terms of like growth for like product SKUs? Like, how are you growing that?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I have obviously like I have like external teams, like a creative team.
Nice.
I have someone to help me with all the creatives. But internal team, like we're a team of 7. And 7 is kind of it's a very good amount because like it's not like crazy amount, but it gives me enough time to focus with them one on one,
Nice.
right?
So kind of right now you're like working above the business in a sense where you have a team that's knocking it out. You have your VAs.
Oh, I'm still in the trenches.
Okay, you're still in the trenches.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love to be in the trenches.
Okay.
Like for me, like I feel like I'm like a general. Like I need to be in the war with them, right? That's just like what I've learned because like, you know, like I've seen like my uncle like, dude, we would be in the office like 40 hours, 40 hours.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You just that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
So like that's kind of like where I'm at, but I still like need to take the time to step back and overview it from the top
Yeah.
level business standpoint.
Yeah.
So
That's the type of leader that I am as well. It's like when I'm not out there with my guys like packing orders and running and stuff, like I feel bad, but it's like you also have to understand we do have to step back and work on the business.
Yes,
You can't always
100%.
be in there with them, but
because you really
Yeah.
have to strategize on the growth, right?
Yeah.
And the efficiencies, especially like operation, like how can I make the operations better?
100%.
But I think that you won't truly understand the operations unless you're doing it yourself.
That's why in the beginning when you're building these businesses, you're kind of wearing all the hats.
Yeah.
So that you don't feel crippled if like that person's out for the day or sick or whatever the case may be. You know how to fill in and you're not like leaning on that person because I feel like a lot of businesses or just small business owners, you know, they do wear all the hats, but there are certain people who come into businesses that already have a track record of building a business, but not in a specific industry and they don't understand it. And then they kind of like just say, okay, I'll just hire a bunch of people. And then when those people leave, they're kind of like shot in the dark. And that's where a lot of businesses fail too.
Yeah.
Right. Like they don't understand the framework for that specific business. And this goes back to what you're saying about buying a course that's built for tools rather than for the baby category.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
very much correlate in that sense where, yeah, I mean, Derek and I, it's like we love being in the trenches. Like we love, like when we're moving, we're not hiring a moving company. Granted, we're trying to save as much money as possible, right?
Yeah.
Operate on a tight ship, but we love this journey because I think that's the key word is like the journey of the business. Because that's also like a reason why we're doing like the YouTube videos and the podcast. So we can look back like 8 months from now and see how our business has grown.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah. And we say it all the time too.
the building part is the funnest part. It's
Yeah, yeah. We're not doing the YouTube stuff and the social media stuff to gain clout. We're doing it for us. And also
Yeah.
like we have a lot of different 3PLs that are honestly bigger than us because we're small potato, you know, where they're looking at our stuff and saying like, hey, this is really cool, you know, because what I was telling our previous podcast guest is he was my best friend. Still is my best friend, but he's huge in the real estate space. And we told him like personal branding is so important, not for the cloud perspective, but also to be able to look back on a lot of stuff, of
Yeah.
where your mindset was, how you've grown to where it is, you know, and with your FBA business, like I guess this will kind of translate into the fourth leg, like.
Well, I want to stick in the business one just a little bit longer because I don't think we've actually asked you like what your business is and what you do and what service you offer for the FBA. So this is like your current project, so to speak. You're currently building this business. Just explain a little bit more into detail of that because I think we kind of skipped over that a little bit.
Yeah, man. Okay. So, you know, after launching a couple products, like I realized like, okay, I need like a team, right? Like I need to streamline some of these processes. So essentially what I did was like, I just started to like hire people, like train them and just teach them like, okay, this is what you're going to do. This data entry, this is what you're going to do. Right. Now, when I started to do that, I realized that like, I can really maximize the time that they're doing all these things and how do I utilize this. Right. So essentially like, I needed to hone down on my skill set. Like I love like product design. I love creating products. I like launching products. Like I love all of the journey of like building a product, right? But one thing that I love more than that is the operational aspect of it, right? So essentially, like I really need to look at what are my strongest skill sets was like operations.
Right.
So how do I utilize my team, provide operation service. So essentially what I did was, now that I'm a, seller, I've also opened up this like management side of the company where I work with existing brands that are already doing 6-7 figures, and help them scale to, by creating operational foundation for them that helps them scale. Does that make sense?
Nice.
Yeah. And that falls within the realm of like my personal skill sets.
Yeah. Well, that's like the most important part of a business is the foundation of it, right? Because, if you don't have a solid foundation to build and scale on, if you scale too fast, you're going to crumble.
Yeah, 100%. And you have to remember too that like FBA in general, it's a very like self-focused business. Right. So a lot of people that start FBA, they don't have the necessary skill sets like us, where we can hire employees, talk with people, network, right? So essentially it's like I save them the headache instead of them trying to find the right person to hire. Like, just hire us. I already hired the right people.
Do you see a lot of people trying to do it as like a side gig?
FBA?
Yeah.
Of course they try to do the side gig. Like, it's a very common thing,
Yeah.
but if they do it as a side, like you can only get so far.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So
Like,
you don't even entertain those types of sellers, or, what's your niche?
for me, it's like already thriving businesses, right? Like, or if I see potential in someone, like if I see someone that's like, I want to do this full time, like I want to leave my job so I could do this full time.
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay, let me bring your account under management. I'll help you scale it, right? And then essentially what I do is like I help them build their stores from the ground up. We start with like a basic retainer, then I move into a profit sharing. So
Nice.
yeah, same thing with like management as well. It's like, okay, these are your problems that you're having like with your store, with management. Let me show you what I can do for the next 6 months. If you like working with us, then we'll move into a profit sharing.
So going off that, would you consider yourself like a guru, or like, where would you consider yourself in the FBA space? Like, you consider yourself top tier? Like, where do you consider yourself?
Honestly, bro, like I feel like I'm still very new.
Yeah, okay.
Like I have experience for sure, but I think that humbleness comes from being around people who are really experienced in the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just like I look at my friends who are doing like 60 mil, 80 mil a year, and I'm just like, damn, that's cool. Like, how can I do that? So like me trying to work there is like my path in getting there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Most of those people that are doing like the 60 to 80 mil, are they doing arbitrage or are they doing like actual FBA?
Actual FBA.
Nice.
That's all FBA.
Damn, that's fucking wild.
Just going off that,
Holy shit.
there's a saying: if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the
You're the
wrong
dumbest.
room.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Actually, like,
Like,
you know,
surround yourself with people who are, doing what you want to do.
yeah, 100%, dude. So I went to a conference in Seattle, and I go out with all my friends, and we're sitting at a dinner table. You got like 7-figure sellers, 8-figure sellers, 9-figure sellers, right? And I'm sitting at the table. I'm like, how the fuck did I get at this table? Like, this is crazy. Like, these guys are like 8-9-figure sellers, and I'm able to like learn from them right here, and we're just drinking soju and having fun, right? So it's like, I feel like because I've been able to network in that way, like it's able to scale my level of knowledge like way faster, right? And there's something I learned from my good friend Daniel Avila, right? Like, I think one approach that he's taken before is like hire someone who's really good, learn what they do, right? So I've taken that same type of approach when I was building my management company, because when you start looking at like accounts that are doing like in the supplement space, to be specific, it's just a different ball game, right? That's still something I am learning, right? But I end up hiring someone who is my CMO, who's actually really good at PPC, Amazon PPC, right? And because I hired him, I'm able to learn exactly what it does in the trenches with him. So it's like my shifting of learning like exponentially goes up because of the factor I have this guy on my team, right? So yeah,
You're not hiring people that you essentially have to spend a lot of time training and building up. You're hiring people who are smarter than you in the job that you're hiring for, and then you're learning from them.
correct.
Yeah, it's like two birds with one stone.
But I will say there is some people who are like new.
Yeah.
And I will say there's a reason for that.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, definitely, for sure. Which I guess can kind of transition us to the fourth leg, which is, retrospect, your goals, and then any advice that you have for others. So talk to us about some of your goals for this business. Have you guys set Have you set like your yearly goals, your reach goals? What does that look like for you?
What year is it? It's 2023.
Yeah.
2023. Yeah, I think I
Is it 23 or 24?
It's 2023, bro.
2023.
Sorry.
Yeah. So one of my goals I would say is within 5 years I want to do 50 mil. So that's probably one of
50
my
mil annually or 50 mil total?
50 mil annually.
Annually. Okay.
Yeah. So that's probably like my golden goal right now for this business. And then I think that once I do that, then I can diversify a little bit more into maybe other businesses or just stick with like
Something with coffee.
No, maybe not something. I
You
did
wanna
something
keep
with
that
coffee before.
You want to keep that something that you just enjoy, or
Yeah, I didn't say this before, but I used to have a DTC coffee brand.
Nice.
really?
Nice. Was
Yeah.
it beans?
It was beans.
Nice.
Yeah, I did have that, and it went really well through COVID because like nobody could leave the house.
right?
Yeah.
But I shortly realized that like I love drinking coffee more than I like selling coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of like keep the coffee thing to like myself now.
I think the good thing though is you've kind of explored different avenues of like your interests, right? Like you did the DJ, some of the DJing, some of the auto detail, coffee, FBA, working with your uncle, and you just really found what you enjoy most, which, like you said, is the product building and operations building as well. So
Yeah.
it sounds like you really take the time to explore your interests in the business sense and really nail down what you're good at and what you love doing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I heard this on some Instagram post before, but it was like in your 20s, like just try shit. And then like when you're in your 30s, like now I'm playing like the decade game where it's like, okay, cool. Like now I'm seeing myself like doing this for the next 10, 20 years. Right?
Yeah, we're all in build mode now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Same.
it's the best. What advice would you have anybody who is looking to get into the FBA space?
Find a really good mentor.
Mentor?
Yeah, find a really good mentor.
How do you differentiate a really good mentor? So like we spoke about earlier, there's so many different people just selling courses now. Like, how do you really weed out those types of people who are just in it for the money and who are in it to just actually really mentor people?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like after hiring Derek Struggle, there's a guy who mentors me. His name is Brandon Young. He does maybe like 30 or 50 mil on Amazon. Right? So this particular guy, he has a social media presence, but it's not like massive, right? And I've been eyeing him for like a year before I even signed up with his like mastermind group. And there's a reason for that. It's because that I just wanted to, as I got older, I just wanted to meet and work with people who I want to work with the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right. Like these are the people who I want to run with. Right. So, I could sense like when I would talk with him and when I actually met him, I could sense like his genuineness of like him being kind. Like he genuinely like just cares about people and want people to get better. Right.
Yeah.
It was not like
Your values aligned.
100%. Yeah. 100%. So that's kind of like what I would look for in a mentor is just finding someone who genuinely wants to help you. And it's like, they're not just there to like feed you information. Like they want to be there not only as your mentor, but as your like friend through the long years to come.
How much would you say someone needs to have in terms of ready cash flow to start like
With a mentor or without a mentor?
Well, I mean, let's just say they don't have the capital to do both. Like, how much would you say, I have this much money for an FBA business? What would you say is a good amount?
This is pretty funny because like all the gurus are like, you can start FBA business for $3,000.
Yeah,
Like
literally, dude.
that is like full of shit. You
And I
cannot do that.
Exactly.
That's like 25 products. Yeah.
Yeah, like you could buy inventory. That's all
Yeah.
you could do, right?
Yeah.
Just a name off the top of my head, you're probably looking at inventory for like a decent product anywhere from like $3,000 to $5,000. You're probably paying like PPC for like the first 3 months. Let's say at minimal like 2,400, and you need to scale. So let's call it 2,500 per month. So 25, what is that? 75 plus an additional 5K. So what is that? 12.5, and then any type of I would say any type of let's say you go to one conference to learn some more, and then on top of that you need to buy software, so you're probably looking at like $15,000 just to start properly,
Yeah.
right, in the game.
So maybe like comfortable 20, 30,000
Yeah, I'd say
good.
20,000 sounds pretty good.
just to
Yeah,
have some like extra cash flow for operating expenses, things like that.
100%. Like I feel like the more cash flow you start with, the more leverage you have.
What is
Because, like,
what is a realistic time frame to kind of like scale that at? So if we started today, essentially, how long do you think that it would take for us to kind of start turning a profit?
if you were to learn the process from like scratch,
Yeah. Let's debunk all these gurus.
yeah. Okay, so what on average what I've seen is like the product research process is people have a really hard time because it's not having a hard time with like finding the product. It's like the problem they have is the emotional part. It's like, is this the right product? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if this is the right product, right?
Second guessing.
Yeah, second guessing, like unsure, right? You're just going off of these basic criteria, and you're like, oh, this looks good, but like I'm unsure, so I don't know if this is the right product. I've seen people do like like I talk to sellers who are like, or quote unquote sellers who are like, yeah, I'm in the product research phase, and like a year later, I'm still searching for products.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's been like a year.
Yeah.
But on average,
You're not made for this.
Yeah.
so like on average, you're probably like what I've seen with like people I've talked with, that's a question I've actually asked before, like how long did it take you to find your first product? It averages anywhere from like 3 to 6 weeks. And then let's say you order the inventory, on a good day, you're probably looking at like a 35-day, a 30-day manufacturing process if you're not manufacturing in the U.S., right? Supplements, for example, like manufacturing in the U.S., they're pretty fast, right? Okay, so now you're looking at, what is that? 6 weeks plus an additional 4 weeks, so that's 10 weeks. Let's say shipping is like another 2 weeks, right? Let's say it takes 5 days to clear customs, and then takes another 2 weeks to check in and transfer to all the FCs in Amazon.
I love the details of the entire process.
Oh, dude, I've had like so many products, like, and I start keeping track. Like, you start keeping track of shit.
Yeah.
You're like, some products will be like, why the fuck is it taking like 5 extra days?
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know, dude. I don't even know what
Essentially 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
yeah, to launch.
From concept to consumer.
Yeah, if everything goes well.
Okay,
right?
so 4 months or something if everything goes right.
Well, that's just getting it to Amazon, right? Then there's the part of how do you get it to sell on Amazon?
Yeah, because you need to be like, you should be trying to get to like the first page or
100%.
Because
Yeah,
people
like
people
get
make it seem
reviews.
like you can just find a good product, send it to Amazon, and then it'll just sell.
oh yeah, all these Amazon
Yeah.
automation gurus.
Yeah, dude. Like, the question, like, I've always thought about is like, okay, like, you found the product, you launched on Amazon your first month, you did 10K, but how much did you actually spend on PPC? Did
Yeah,
you
that's
spend
right.
10K?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Like, I think if you spend 10K on PPC, for sure you can get 10K.
yeah.
Now, I will say there is some products, depending on, like, a lot of, like, guys I know in the supplement space, they create, like, this crazy, super dope formula, and they already know how to do product launches. Like, they'll hit, like, those 50Ks, like, in that first month of launch, right? But on average, if you are a new seller, you're probably going to be looking at a good, like, 2 to 3 months to actually start gaining some really good traction from that, right? And it doesn't stop there. Like, now you're in the process about 6-7 months. It's like, I'm almost guaranteed within that 3 months you're going to run out of inventory, so you need to purchase more inventory.
Yeah,
Then
or
you
if
need
your
to
bot,
scale it.
or if your product has phased out, like is
Yeah.
it still popular?
Yeah.
You got to do different
Yeah.
products, expand your line.
Yeah.
This is constant.
How important is it to build? So how like different sellers you can click and go to their store on Amazon. How important is it to actually build out that store as a seller?
If you have a brand, it's important, right? Because like people love your product, and if they want to see like other products, right? It's like if you just put one shirt on the website and,
Right.
and you don't put the other shirt
Right.
that they may like it makes no sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to have that like full store.
Would you recommend like staying within the same realm if you're doing that, or are there sellers who just
category?
have like category, or are there different sellers who just have like a bunch of random shit in their store?
Yeah, like
think-
leggings and then like toilet paper.
That's totally your two things around.
Yeah, I know. We're asking you the hard
No,
stuff. here.
I think like before in like the early days, I would say like people were just launching shit to launch shit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, like if you want to build a solid brand on Amazon and exit out of it, like you should stay in the same category, right? And it's, I will say like a lot of people will recommend staying in the same category because you need to get really good at that category, right? You need to understand the category, the products behind it, and all the other products behind it, so you can build your brand properly.
And then make it better.
100%, right? And then eventually when you have like a line of products and it's generating like how much in revenue, you can eventually exit out at a 3-4x.
When you say exit out of it, what do you mean by that?
Sell the brand.
Sell the brand. So people are actually selling brands that they create on Amazon.
Dude, that's where the money is.
Really?
The money isn't when you make
See, I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
that's the money is like not when you make money like on the monthly basis. The money is when you exit out of the brand.
Are there so who's buying these brands?
Bigger brands, aggregators.
Wow.
So like
So-
Kinda
other
eliminate the
front page, they see you as competition. They're like, okay, we're just gonna go buy this guy out.
Yeah.
Trying
Right,
to
okay.
Stay on
monopolize,
top.
essentially.
To give you an example, right? Like we just launched a baby brand. Okay. Now this baby brand, it's a new store, right? I'm launching 3 products under it, right? Now let's say I scale this brand to $1 million in revenue. Okay, yearly revenue. There might be a company like Graco, who's a big baby brand, to be like, we like your products.
Yeah.
Can we buy your brand at a 3-4x multiple? So they'll come and they'll buy your brand for 3-4 mil, and you could do that over the course of like 2-3 years if it's done correctly.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's like, a lot of thes people are making the same products, using essentially some of the same manufacturers. So for these brands, why does it make more sense to buy out the Amazon brand rather than just make those same products? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the way I understand how aggregators work is like they are very operational too. So they understand like systems and they have certain ways to like scale products or brands, right? But sometimes those systems are built off of like doing a minimum revenue. Like we need a product to be doing 50K monthly revenue in order to scale it to 150K revenue. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
system is built around that, right?
If it's too low revenue, they're not interested.
Yeah.
So it's essentially, it's like, okay, instead of us taking the time of creating this product and getting it to the front page and scaling it, this one's already doing 50K. Let's just buy this brand and scale that from there.
Yeah.
Essentially
100%.
monopolized,
Actually,
bro.
like
Yeah.
2020 to 2022, there was a lot of aggregators buying brands. And then what happened is that like there were some aggregators who don't know how to run the fucking brands.
Oh shit.
So they end up buying the brands and it just like goes to
Tanks.
shit. It tanks.
Yeah.
But that's operationally structured. Like it's not operationally structured right. So it's I would say like 2016 was like a very big like let's just launch a product. 2018 to 2019 became like really popular when it comes to like a lot of like more FBA sellers just starting in the game. 20 to 2022 would be more of like it was like the aggregator thing where like all the brands that we're building for the past like 4 or 5 years, like now they're getting bought out by these aggregators.
Damn, that could have been us, bro.
So,
Fuck.
So like
Swaddle
hey, it's
King.
not too late, bro. We got Alex here to mentor us.
Oh, yeah, we'll hire him. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I would say now like 2023 and beyond is now more of like the what is the I don't know the term for it, but it's like more of like the programs and the program type of thing. Like better software. It's a software boom right now in the Amazon space.
Yeah.
Because
Wow,
everyone is looking for better software.
Well, and like the AI too, right? Like I'm sure that's kind of
yeah.
sort of playing a role in this software, and
Yeah.
how can we use AI to like automate our process of finding what products are doing well and what not.
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
sure.
there probably is something like that. I use a software called Data Dive, which is fair enough. It's owned by like mentor Brandon Young, but one of the big things about this is essentially like it uses AI to like help you create your product listings, right? But it takes data from like different places, not just on Amazon, and that allows you to help you rank for the possible relevant keywords that's relevant for your product to help you scale to get to the first page organically. So that's like a pretty cool
legit.
thing nowadays, because before you used to just type it out whatever keywords you
Right.
thought was relevant, but now like his software essentially like will just tell you, hey, this is like these are all the relevant keywords.
That's
across the
AI,
board.
man. It's crazy.
Yeah. And not just like in Amazon, but also like Google Trends, like all the other avenues of it.
How do you? So if somebody has a brand that's like a Shopify e-commerce brand outside of Amazon, and they enter the Amazon space as FBA, how do you see that kind of going? Is that a
Yeah, actually, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because both worlds are very different, right? They're both
Yes.
e-commerce, but
Right.
Shopify and Amazon is very different realm.
right? It's different marketing. It's
Yeah,
different platform.
100%. What I've often seen is that like you obviously have higher margins with Shopify, right? Because Amazon just pulls off your whole leg.
Right.
Fucking 30
It's like
something.
50%, bro.
It's
It's
crazy
like 50.
amount, bro.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, like 2030, they take 90% of your revenue.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. They just own you.
They just own you pretty
yeah.
much. Yeah, so it's two different realms, right? I think that the mindsets are very different. You know, I feel like Shopify, they're very creative, right? You create creative products, like you can make very nice shirts. Like those same shirts is very hard to sell, like very creative
Right.
shirts on Amazon, right? Or like even just very like one-off products, like I can't.
I feel like for us, you know, we have our clothing brand Motive. You know, I feel like for us, it would be hard for us to go to Amazon, put our leggings on Amazon because there are so many leggings on Amazon that are like $20, whereas we have like a $60
straight from the manufacturer.
So we feel like people, manufacturers are essentially selling it. We feel like people kind of just gravitate towards that. So I feel like as a brand, it would be hard to transition from Shopify to go to Amazon.
It is, yeah. So going from Shopify to Amazon is hard, but going from Amazon to Shopify is a little bit more lucrative.
Right, because you kind of already have your brand established on Amazon.
Correct.
That's correct.
And then you can generate more revenue without those Amazon fees
Correct.
through Shopify, which I think we kind of talked about that at the event. There's a lot of people transitioning off of FBA right now and creating their own Shopify stores.
Correct. Yeah, but they still use fulfillment centers.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
correct.
But I think that going back to what you said about like putting your brand on Amazon, what's actually a really good idea that I've always thought of, and that I've actually heard from like other people that they're doing it, that they want to do as well, is like you already have the manufacturer, so you can create an off brand that's not Motive but has the quality of that. But if you could find a cheaper price point and then launch that brand on Amazon, so you're not ruining the reputation of like that brand
Right.
itself, but because you already have the resources, like you can essentially like just launch a new brand on Amazon,
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Damn.
right?
Well, I mean, because
Damn.
that's I mean, it's still the same product development.
Correct.
The manufacturing process, it's all the same. It's just instead of shipping it to your fulfillment center for Shopify, you're shipping it to Amazon.
It's also a price
That's
point.
the only, obviously price point
point,
is,
yep.
is another thing, but
Crucial.
it's just two different platforms at the end of the day, but the product development side is still the same.
Correct. And then essentially what you could do is like, because you already have an established database with your current brand, you could leverage that same data with the new brand, and that will help boost your ranking on Amazon.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
we're gonna have a little conversation.
Yeah, we
off
should have a
camera
conversation after this.
after this. But yeah, I think Alex, I think that's a good ending point for us to cross the finish line here. So thank you so much for joining us today, helping our audience grow their knowledge in the world of business, specifically FBA. I think there's a lot of curiosity around that realm right now.
Yeah, a lot.
You're a great person. I think you
Appreciate
definitely gave some great advice
And help debunk a lot of shit.
debug some stuff, and hopefully our goal is always help at least one person, and I think we'll do that with the advice that you've given today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you to the listeners at home for tuning in. Together we will sprint towards a purpose-driven future, celebrating the power of business, entrepreneurship, and the transformative impact it can create.
One day you're not going to stutter on that.